a real life story, which is really encouraging for me. One, just imagine you were the president.
Trying more and more to act like the sign.
You're already the star. She manages to capture the attention of the crowd.
Trying to stay, but I mean, you're just like, I wish I could just stop, but you just keep going and going and going. Hey guys, so this is God's Beloved 101. So excited once again, as always, to speak to you. I am here, and today I'm going to be just giving you a small testimonial about my life and my work. So I think I'm just going to start, with when I started work. In general, I felt like I was so overwhelmed and I didn't have any time to do anything meaningful with my life. It felt like I was just always about work, always in work. I hope no one from work is listening. But anyways, so I came to a point where I decided, oh, let me actually, when you're suffering so much and you just are so engrossed in your suffering and your suffrage that you actually forget that you have a father, you forget you have a God. And I remember this was like in the COVID times, and I was like almost sitting on my desk like for 12 hours, and I was wondering, oh my gosh, I thought I was working from home, but this is actually harder because I have to work even harder, and I'm always seated. I don't even have time to have lunch with my family, and I'm just always busy. And so I came to a point where I saw that this was like a trend, and I was so frustrated and so overwhelmed with everything. And then I decided, oh, I have a father, let me actually ask my father for help because this is not working. And then I made a prayer. And I remember just the next day being in a situation where I felt like most of the calls that I would normally receive on a daily basis, they were like, reduced by half. And that way I was actually able to, do the other stuff that I normally wanted to do, like as per my plan. And I was able to finish, I think, by 4 p.m. or something like that. And I was so amazed and I was so happy that day because I could actually go to the kitchen, check out what everybody was doing. And it was so exciting for me that day because I felt, oh my gosh, then I remembered, but I prayed. And this is God answering my prayer. So what's the point of this whole thing? When I was praying, I remember just being reminded that, in the Garden of Eden, Adam had work to do. It's not like he was chilling all the time. He had work to do and he would work. But the thing is, the work that he had to do was more of work that would fulfill him and just give him a purpose and a way of feeling fulfilled in general, just as a person. But the truth of the matter was, he didn't have to work to the extent where he would, eat because of sweat, the way we now have to because of the curse. Now, only after he had sinned was when the curse came that said, you will eat what you sweat for. So now you find that the ground was now cursed, the ground was now hard for it to produce, you had to work. And now I just know when I look at how we farm these days, it's like you struggle for the seed to actually germinate, and then if it germinates, you struggle with weeds and other things that are just finishing the nutrition in the soil for the plants that you want to grow. And then so you now need herbicides, and then after that you now need to weed, and then after weeding again, now you have to find pesticides, because guess what, someone else goes before you and starts eating that thing before you even get there. And now you need herbicides to kill the pests, pesticides to kill pests, herbicides to kill the weeds and the like. So I was just thinking that in general, we have accepted this lot of life where we have to work hard, where we have to sweat so much for us to be able to get anything done. But this was not the order in the Garden of Eden. And so when I prayed, I was then reminded of the fact that Christ actually died for you and I. And Christ died to remove the curse that came with the sin that Adam had committed. So now it is up to you and I to start functioning based on the blessing that has come through Christ. And Christ has come to cancel all that curse that came with Adam's sin. So that means today we can work, yes, not that we are lazy and we don't do anything, no, but we can work and we have fulfillment and we can be fulfilled in whatever we're doing. So instead of working hard and doing everything we can and just, working as though we're still under the curse, it's up to you and I nowadays to just, subscribe to what God has done. Subscribe to what Christ had given us at the beginning, which was Work, yes, but you are also fulfilled, and you're not having to sweat and work like a donkey just for you to eat bread. Now you can actually go back to the order that was there when Adam was there, where he had to tend, he had to look at the garden, maintain it. But things were growing, things were evergreen, and that garden, he didn't have to sweat for, things to actually grow out of the ground. He just had to, take care of the things that were already growing. If he wanted to direct this plant this way, it would go that way. If he wanted to plant this there, it would be there. And if he just wanted to prune a few branches, he would just prune. Then the rest of the day, he's out with Eve having ice cream. I add there. But anyways, so what is the point of this whole thing? I also just wanted to, share something that also really impacted me and really helped me to come to a place where I would appreciate what God is doing. And I think I'll just read from the book of Exodus. There is the story of the Israelites where they were under bondage. And the amazing thing is, this was shared by Joseph Prince, and he was saying that Abraham was told by God, he was given a promise, and it said to him, this is actually from Genesis chapter 15, verses 13, and it says that God said to Abraham, "Know for sure that your descendants will be strangers, living temporarily in a land that is Egypt, that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But when you look at when this actually happened, in Exodus chapter 12, verse 40, it actually expresses that the Israelites only left the land of Egypt after 430 years. So it says, this is Exodus chapter 12, verse 40. And it says, now the period of time the children of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. So the word to Abraham, or what Abraham had been told, is that your descendants would be in captivity just for 400 years. But instead, they ended up staying in captivity for 430 years. And you might want to ask why, and you might never have asked why as well. But the thing is this: when the children of Israel were in captivity, 400 years came and they were still there. But you know what happened to them is they were strong. Okay, they were strong in being captives. They were strong in serving the Egyptians. They kept on going on and on and on and on and on, suffering. And it says, up until a time in Exodus chapter 2, where 2 verse 23, where it says, and now it happened after a long time, about 40 years. This is after Moses, I think, had run away after killing someone in Egypt, that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel groaned and sighed because of the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry for help because of the bondage ascended to God. So God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So now, this was just amazing to me, because you find that God had a covenant with Abraham in which he then promised, and he said your descendants will be in captivity for 400 years. And although the promise was there that they were just in captivity for just 400 years, it came a point where they groaned and sighed, which is when God was finally reminded of his covenant with Abraham, that these guys, they've already passed the 400-year mark. They're supposed to be out of this. And then he now started orchestrating that for Moses to actually go back to Egypt. And then that's when he went and appeared to Moses in the burning bush. But my point is this: the Israelites, all along, they were being strong, they were gritting their teeth, and they were independent. Just like how we act sometimes when we think, I'm all grown up now, I don't need my parents, I can, I should be independent. I should be doing my own things for myself, and I can't be crying to mama. I can't be crying to mama all the time about problems of life. I have to be strong. And so we are strong, and we forget we have a parent. We forget we have a father who loves us. We forget that we even have a covenant. We have a word that is protecting us, a word that we're supposed to be saying, God, but you said. So a lot of the times we suffer in silence. We suffer and we are strong and we are independent. And I know women these days, we like those words, strong and independent. We want to be strong and independent in handling our suffering, in handling our issues, and handling our problems. And just like me, you might be in a space where you're so overwhelmed with so many things, maybe worse than work, relationships or family issues or whatever, and you're being strong and you think you've got it covered. You think you can, handle it because you're now independent, strong and independent. But it says when the Israelites finally groaned and sighed, and I know in the New Testament, in Romans, I think it says that the Holy Spirit helps with groanings that cannot be uttered. So a groan is a prayer, a sigh is a prayer, and the Israelites didn't go on top of the mountain and start crying and cutting themselves and all sorts of things. No, they just groaned while they're in that bondage. They finally groaned and sighed, and it says that God heard that. A lot of the times, we know when you're in the religious circles, we have all these beliefs about God that for Him to finally hear you, you need to do a lot more. You need to work hard. You need to shout. You need to scream. You need to cry. You need to fast. You need to, hold back. You need to deprive yourself for God to hear you. Those are the ideas that we have or that we get in the religious circles, of where we're given this idea that we're supposed to suffer first for God to finally hear us. We're supposed to scream. And yet Jesus, when He gave the example of that wicked judge to whom that widow went over and over and over and over again, He was saying that that widow finally got what she needed from this wicked judge after going all the time and asking. But that was not to say that is how God is. No. He was just saying, if you can get what you need from a wicked judge, how much more from your loving Father? He even gave the example that if you in your wickedness know how to give good things to your kids, how much more the Heavenly Father, who is righteous, who knows what goodness is, better than you and I. So a lot of the times we have all these ideas that for God to hear me, I need to scream, I need to shout, I need to fast, I need to first do this, I need to first commit myself, I need to first consecrate myself and do that and do this and do this and do this for God to hear me, for God to answer my prayer. But it says here that the Israelites didn't do all that. They didn't go to the mountain and spend the whole night, shivering out of cold and praying and shouting on the mountain. No, it says that they sighed and groaned. Just a groan where you're carrying those bricks and you say, Father. It means all this time they were quiet, they were being strong, they were gritting their teeth and acting strong, and they were saying, yeah, I can handle this. But finally a time came when they sighed. Yeah, I've had enough. They didn't even have the strength to say many words, but just a sigh, just a groan was enough to activate the covenant of their father Abraham. Isn't that wonderful? Just to know that your father is waiting for just the smallest sign of you calling for help. Sometimes you can't even say, Father, help. You can just say, and just a sigh is enough for your father to come running. I mean, just imagine a mother with her child. Does she have to wait for a child to first scream, to first cut herself and deprive herself of lunch and dinner for her to finally say, okay, what do you want? You have my attention now. But this is the kind of God that we sometimes portray, that we have to do all sorts of things for Him to hear us. But no, just like your father, just like your mother, the moment they just say, they run and they say, what is it? What's wrong? So sometimes we are in that space where God is just in the next room, or God is just right there and He's waiting for you to just say, I need help, or just for you to say, help, or to just say, Father, and He will immediately swoop in remembering his covenant. Activate the covenant. What is the covenant saying? You're supposed to be out of this captivity 30 years ago, but you're still in it because you're being strong. You're being, you acting like oh macho, like you got this, you can handle it. But no, unfortunately, because God had given us authority on earth, when he gave Adam dominion on earth, he doesn't have the authority to just come on earth and start doing whatever he wants, much as he might want to help you. Just like even with our children, sometimes you find that they start telling you, hey, you can't be coming to bathe me anymore, don't touch me. So now until they say come, you cannot just go and start doing whatever you want with your children. So it's the same thing with our Father. He had given us dominion on earth. So now he can't just come and take over again. Now it's up to us to say, Father, I now need your help. And then he comes in and he assists. So what am I saying today? I'm saying, let's not be strong and independent when it comes to God. When it comes to our Father, let's not be acting like we're orphans. Let's not be acting like we don't have a father. Because that was like me when I was, being strong and, you're gritting your teeth and you're just like, this is life. I just have to bear it. But no, do you have to bear it? God had said up until 400 years, and sometimes you go further along. They were even going to get to 450 if they have not sighed and groaned. And just one sigh, one groan was enough for the Father to say, I've heard their sighs. I've heard their groaning. Let me go and send Moses to get these people out of there. It's long overdue. Sometimes God doesn't even want you to be suffering in the place that you're suffering in, but because you're being strong and you're acting stubborn and you think, you gotta bear it, you keep on bearing it when God is already waiting with the covenant that says, but my child isn't supposed to be suffering all these things by himself. My child isn't supposed to be going through all these things. Why? Until you just call that sigh. It's not a difficult thing. Sometimes just saying, Father, without even many words, without going to the mountain, without going to that specific church, without going anywhere, just your voice as a child of God, it's enough. Because just like any mother, as long as you are their child, they will respond if you cry. If you say, as long as they just sense some sort of discomfort, they will run, they'll come. So it's not about you making noise, it's not about you coming in an elaborate way or following protocol or all sorts of things, when you just realize that this God is not just your God, he's your Father, he's your parent. He is responsible for you in every way. Even if you're 60 years old or 90 years old, you are still his child, you're still his daughter, you're still his son, and not just a son, but precious child in his eyes, in his heart, and he's ready all the time to assist if ever you need assistance. So let's not be strong in bearing all sorts of things, but let's go to our God and say, hey, Father, this is not, I don't think I'm supposed to be suffering this much. Just like that prodigal son, we call him the prodigal son, but he was correct in one thing. It says when he came to himself, he realized and he said, even the servants in my father's house, they have enough to eat and to spare. Why must I continue to suffer like this? Yes, I have sinned. Yes, I was wrong. Yes, I did disgraceful things, but I will go back there. I will go back there. Let's be like the prodigal son. Let's go back to our Father. Let's go back to the Father. Even if it's your mistake, even if it's something that you did wrong, you can still go back to your Father. And guess what? He's not waiting with a stick to beat the hell out of you, to beat you up. But no, he is waiting with sandals, waiting for you to come back. And the moment you come back, he's coming and embracing you in whatever state you are. He's embracing you and calling for shoes to be put on your feet, a robe, a royal robe for you. Not for you to be punished for 6 days, for us to prove that you are now repentant. Or not for you to go to the servants' quarters in the meantime until we finally have mercy on you. No, he's ready to embrace you and give you the best of the best. So ultimately, it's up to you and I to just say, hey, let me go to my Father's house. And he's already waiting. He wants you there. He wants to clothe you. He wants to feed you. He wants to kill the cattle cow for you and celebrate your return, because he loves you like that. So don't you ever be deceived. Don't feel shy. Just approach that God and say, hey, God, if it's a sigh, if it's a groan, it's enough to get to his throne and activate his covenant that he gave to Jesus. That, we're forgiven now. We're the children of God. We're beloved. I hope I am not talking too much, but yeah, that's all I just wanted to say to you today, that there's no need for you to be strong. There's no need for you to be bearing it all when the Father has everything that you need. And you can just go to him and say, Father, and he comes running to assist. I hope that was encouraging for you as it was for me. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead or month ahead, whenever next time I get to share again. Goodbye. Thanks so much.
Everything will be alright.